Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Spoil Me, covering One Piece, episodes 209, because I didn't finish it in the last episode, through 212. In these episodes, our friends are engaged in a battle to the death. Well, not really the death, but they have to give up crew members every time they lose. And isn't that almost worse? Welcome to Spoil Me. Welcome to the show, everyone. I am Natasha. Thank you very much to Florian for commissioning this episode. Florian and Seraphim are both here in the chat. I'm really like, it probably is a good thing in some ways that I'll be doing these all together, because the last episode, when everything went wrong with my computer, cut me off right before I began the actual Davy contest. What do they call it? Because the whole thing is like you will be sent down to Davy Jones's locker. But I only kind of wish that I got to see at least the beginning of the third contest. I get the first two in these 4 episodes. So I figure starting with 209, that works. It's fine. What we get here is the introduction of the concept of of this contest that it's called the Davy Back Fight, according to the... Yeah. Oh, thank you. Seraphim is saying this as well. Thank you. I just saw it in the subtitles, but basically 3 contests, and whichever team wins gets to either take a crew member away from the opposing crew, take their Jolly Roger away so that they can never fly as pirates under that flag ever again, or they can take back a crew member if they lost the last round and they want their person back. And this was all... So what this winds up being is a series of like really silly contests that Foxy is influencing or straight up cheating. And it's the kind of thing that would have driven me absolutely bananas as a kid. There were 2 storylines that I would see a lot as a child that aggravated me no end. One was the storyline like this, where a character is allowed to cheat from the get, and nothing can be done about it. Because I have a very profound sense of fairness, and the idea that we all know they're cheating and nothing is done was simply unacceptable to me. And the second story was the kind where people were about to win the lottery or about to get a treasure or a prize, and at the last moment something goes wrong and they don't get it. And the whole message of those kinds of pieces of media was usually like, the real prize was the friends they made along the way. But I was always just like, no, the prize is the fucking money. Give them the money. And thankfully, that just preceded this arc, because they were about to get this huge gold column, and instead they just got a bunch of bags of random gold stuff. And the fact that they at least got the bags of gold stuff and the gold column was definitely going to be too heavy for their ship to carry, that mitigated my feelings of outrage that they sort of cheated themselves. But this section, watching this dude straight up cheat and the ref just turn his back, guys, it just made me realize how profound our entire governmental system how profoundly flawed it is. This is like low-key what it is. You can just cheat, and unless enough people with enough strength behind them can stop you and say, absolutely not, this isn't valid, unless that, you can just go ahead and do what you want. And there was something about watching this, and I was just like, oh, like, a system only works if everybody agrees and functions by the rules laid out within that system. And if you make a deal that you will, and then you just don't, the whole theory has been, we will hold you accountable. And recently it's just become so clear that nobody holds anyone accountable after a certain point in the culprit's power. You have to, like, up to a certain threshold, they'll do something about it. But there is a definite line where if you are wealthier and more powerful than this line, it doesn't, you just can do whatever. As long as you can pay enough lawyers and make it miserable enough for the people who are trying to stop you, you can just keep that kind of shit going forever. And we had this whole raid on like Trump and Mar-a-Lago this past week. And it was the one shining beacon of like, maybe we're going to actually do something this time. Maybe we will. Still not a guarantee, but it was more hope than I have seen, you know, in myself for a while. And just the fact that there's all these spots where he can just like jump in and be like, no, I don't like it. We're not going to do it that way. When you stop and think about, and I'm sorry to be making this political, I really am, but I just couldn't stop thinking about it. When you stop and think about what gerrymandering is, it's basically this. Well, if we divided this into like even districts, I wouldn't win. So we're not going to do that. We're going to divide this into real weird, random looking squiggly lines all over the place because I only want to get the people that will vote for me in my section. So that's what we'll, and it's like truly outrageous that this is allowed, you know, but what kills me is that they lampshade this so beautifully when at one point Nami is like, if we're going to take one of their crew members, take the lead dude because he's the threat. And all of the pirates jump down her throat about how unsportsmanlike that is, that it's the coward's way out, the equivalent of just running away from a fight. Yeah, you could do that, but it's incredibly pitiful and to be derided and you're despicable. Y'all, I just was rolling. Like, this is exactly what they do. They trample all over the rules. But the moment that we do anything that is outside of this absolute rule set that they hold us to, but they do not abide by themselves, suddenly it's this big fucking problem. And I can't believe that they would be so dishonorable. Meanwhile, they are just pulling shit left and right. And I just couldn't take it. It just hurt to watch. And Nami being like, why are they so mean? And it was so perfect because they aren't doing anything. They aren't physically stopping them from making that choice. They aren't saying you can't. They're just like verbally attacking her. And it's almost enough to make her take it back. And that's what liberal politicians are like. It's like they can't even stand the idea that the enemy is going to have a problem with them. And yeah, I'm calling them the enemy. I'm straight up doing it. And so they take no stand. They take no advantage of any of the little tools in their arsenal or precedents that have been set. They don't do any of it. because they just can't stand to be like not reaching across the aisle. They can't stand really what it is to close the door in the face of any moderate that may have crossed over and voted for them. And the secret is moderates aren't going to vote for you. They always are actually Republican. Even if they're libertarian, they still go with Republican almost every time. Stop it. We have leftists out here desperate for you to do anything. And you could have all of us, but you don't. Because you're still trying to court this little fucking faction that doesn't matter and will never vote for you. And so you just sacrifice any possibility of accomplishing fucking anything because you don't want people to be mad at you. And frankly, they can shove it. And I'm sick of it. You know, like today, Beto was caught on camera yelling at this guy who Beto was making a speech about the AR-15 that was used at Uvalde. I don't even remember if it was an AR-15, but that was what he was using in this example, talking about how the rounds used were so destructive that one of the kids was decapitated by it. I had no idea. And a dude in the audience is laughing as he's talking about this. And Beto says, "It might be funny to you, motherfucker, but it's not funny to me." And all anybody can talk about is that he said motherfucker. That's what they're talking about. A man was laughing at the children being described as mutilated by a weapon in school that was purchased legally because our laws are garbage. And the motherfucker, that's the part that all the headlines are about. Not man laughs at enormous tragedy involving children murdered. No. And you want to say, well, only the Republicans are jumping on him about motherfucker. Not so. No, this is what I'm saying. They aren't. Liberals are too. Talking about how if you want them to take you seriously, you can't use that kind of language. It takes things too far. I retweeted an NPR headline today because they truly are just trying to be like, well, you know, sometimes that's too much. No. You know what's too much? Everything that has happened in schools across this country for the past 10 years. That's what's too much. So anyway, what I'm saying is they probably should have taken that captain. Even if everybody was going to be mad at them and whine about it. I don't care. Do the thing that will make you win. Because Chopper is sitting there completely unprotected and getting the distinct feeling that you don't care. And you're doing absolutely nothing to make him believe otherwise. So while I know the whole thing ends with Luffy promising him, we're going to get you back. Don't worry. We're absolutely committed to winning the next one. If that is not also the exact thing that people who are at risk from all of these different laws that are being passed or rolled back have been told year after year, don't worry. We just need to make sure to get a Democrat in this year because everything could go really wrong. But next time, we're going to have your issue be front and center and we'll take you more seriously, I promise. Don't worry. In the future, it's absolutely going to be, we just can't do it right now because it's kind of divisive and it's going to weaken us a little bit. So we're not actually going to put it on the line in any way, but we hope that you really, truly still are on our side and accept nothing. So we're offering nothing. Take it and you're welcome. Welcome to the show, everyone. I'm Natasha. Oh God, I'm sorry, but honestly, there were too many parallels in this, guys. I couldn't ignore it. It was like a 1-for-1, really. And I am so angry on Chopper's behalf from beginning to end. Y'all, Chopper gets taken, and he is understandably deeply upset. And Zoro yells at him for crying. And I couldn't bear it. Look, it's one thing to tell this kid, who I will always see as a kid, keep a stiff upper lip, buddy, and we'll get you. Just hang tight. But what Zoro says is basically, take responsibility for the choices that you made coming with us. Which, like, that's not actually addressing any of what has just happened in a fair or reasonable way. You know, it's just a weirdly, like, victim blamey sort of moment that I think it's supposed to be taken as tough love. But I just am so tired of poor Chopper being the constant one who's getting the tough love from everybody who has been supposed to, like, have his back. It just seems like it's always Chopper who is being yelled at or, like, gaslit by somebody. And I'm tired of this for him. He deserves better. And, you know, I do appreciate Nami being like, what the fuck, Zoro? But in the end, it's sort of, like, presented that Zoro wins and Chopper takes his advice. And I was just like, look, like I said, it's one thing to tell somebody to, like, hang in there and try and be tough. And it's another thing to be like, this is pitiful and you should be ashamed of yourself. Yo, chill out. Like, for real. Anyway, I'm sorry, there's so many comments that I missed. Seraphim says, I am with you on hating that second one. Oda has made very clear there is something legit at the end, and this will not be the real One Piece was the friends we made along the way, even if Oda might actually be able to pull that off. It's okay. We know who we are listening to, and fuck gerrymandering. Nami got in on the fun for the second match, though, at least. If you can do whatever you can to get away with it, Nami will find a way to use that to her advantage. True. She's very good. Florian, this rant is what I am here for, 100%. Oh, and let's talk about Foxy's looks. Okay, so I started to do this last episode, and then everything kept going wrong and interrupting me. What the fuck is going on south of his belly button? Because it's giving dick pic, and I don't know what to do about it. This dude has, like, those weird puffy pantaloons, but he also has what looks like a lace-up front pair of underwear that are being sort of revealed by the sagging waistband of those pantaloons. And there's a stick, a bat, a baton, I don't know what you want to call it, jammed into the waistband, as if that lace front underwear has been unlaced and his dick is sticking out the hole above the waistband of the pants. What are we doing? Is he supposed to be, like, a gay stereotype? Is that what, like, are they trying to do a sort of homophobic thing here? Or am I reading into that too much? Because there's something about this whole vibe that feels really puzzling. I feel like there's a theme that Oda's going with that I'm not really picking up. Like I said last episode, also his accent is, like, all over the place, and I'm never really sure what he's supposed to, like. He has a strangely silly quality at times, but also there's, like, this false elevated sense to the way he speaks. So I don't really know what is going on there, but it feels significant, and I feel like I'm missing something. Florian says, I'm not 100%, but I think the thing with Chopper played out different in the manga. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. I think it is supposed to be a pistol in the waistband. I don't think it's homophobic. Oda just wanted to make a really weird character, I think. It's a pistol? Okay. It doesn't look like a pistol. I'm willing to accept because nothing in this universe really looks like what it is most of the time. So I accept that. That's fine. But I am surprised by that because that 100% never even crossed my mind. That was not the object I was imagining. Seraphim says, no, if One Piece is doing gay stereotype, you will know it. And while Oda's handling of that topic isn't the best, I wouldn't call it homophobic. Okay. So yeah, that whole thing. And then his nose being a totally different color, which I've already talked about in the style of Buggy the Clown, and his hair, and the fact that he's like really sensitive to criticism or pushback in any way. These have come together to make him a pretty fun character to me. I also really like Burger. Is that his name? Hamburg? Maybe it's Hamburg. One of his henchmen. Because this guy, I thought what we were going to get, because he's like this giant hulking creature, I thought for sure we were going to get like big stupid idiot type, and instead it's like he's constantly laughing at his own side. And there is something about the fact that he is laughing at his boss, laughing at his team losing, that endears him to me a great deal. It feels very much like, I'm not actually on your side. I'm just here for a good time. And you are such an idiot and so bad at all of this that it never fails to be a good time when I watch you try and do anything. So I'll pretend to like be on your side so that I can be as close to this goofy action as I can. But I don't actually like or care about you. I just like drama and I just want to be around for it. And I am just into it. He is always giggling in the background in a way that's like, so much of the time, this character that's giggling is laughing at our people and laughing in that evil, I just enjoy ruining your day kind of way. And this dude laughing at his alleged boss being really bad at setting up a variety of traps, especially the episode 210. They are attempting to go through this like coral reef that's sticking up out of the water. And that is the sort of beginning of a series of obstacles that Foxy has put in place to send them in the wrong direction and get them to screw themselves up. And one after another, Nami just straight up is like, I'm not doing that, and ruining his plans. And Hamburg is on the shore, on the ground, laughing because Foxy is so he looks so discouraged and despondent over the fact that nothing that he did worked. Let's see, Seraphim says, if there's anything meant to be laughed at about Foxy beyond just being Foxy, he's kind of an old has-been who had a moderately successful sports career when he was young and now just tries to pretend he's still got that while very clearly not. Okay, so you're picturing like somebody who's sort of gone to seed, like maybe no, I was gonna say Al Bundy, because Al Bundy always talks about that like one amazing touchdown that he scored, but this feels much more like what's the name, Ludo Bagman from Harry Potter, who was like a massive Quidditch star, and he doesn't actually play anymore, but he's so charming and funny that he still manages to be famous even though he doesn't really do the sport at all anymore. I like that idea. Okay, I'll go with that. I accept that. So yeah, these series of contests that they have to engage in, it's all punctuated by two things. One, there's an actual like carnival atmosphere with food stalls being set up, and it's like a whole thing. And I love this for so many reasons. One, I love it because it suggests Foxy's own crew carries all of the equipment with them and just sets up carnivals everywhere. When they just participate in this contest over and over again. And they fund the contest with the carnival that they set up around it. And that is going to be my headcanon. Whether they win or lose is not actually what's important to them. It's that they get to set up the carnival and make some money. That's their business. And the whole contest is just meant to make it seem like very high drama and get butts in the seats with a corn dog in their hand. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So I love that. But most importantly, there is an announcer who is on a bird with his like commentary throughout. And this guy's design, his mouth is about 40% of his whole head. It's extremely off-putting. I am pretty sure the voice actor is like the same one that does Usop, and I might be wrong about that, but he has a real Usop sound, especially when he's really screaming. And the only reason that I would be like, it might not be the same voice actor is because I don't see whoever did the voice acting for this character ever being able to speak again for the next like week after finishing the recordings for these episodes. You would need like your entire like larynx and voice box replaced. This dude is going so hard from the jump, and just top of his lungs. I'm watching this in a separate room while Owen is trying to like play a game on his computer or watch something, and he had to like go and close the door because it was just so much. But there was no way for me to turn it down and still hear like a lot of the main character dialogue. This guy's volume is just decibels above everybody else. And the energy that he is bringing, it's got a real like Thunderdome sort of sound to it. It reminds me, for those of you who have watched Community, there is a storyline where Troy gets invited to be part of the air conditioning repair school, trade school. But the plumbing school wants him and is trying to convince him that the air conditioning repair school is elitist and he shouldn't be any part of it. So they have like a contest to see if they can make like who's the greatest repairman. It's literally, that's the contest. And there's a dude in the room as they begin this contest. And he's like, one of you will never come out again. And the only rule is that there are no rules. And somebody comes over and grabs the mic and goes, Jesus Christ, Jerry, are you doing coke again? Of course there are rules. And he just starts like very calmly explaining what the rules are while this insane man who had the mic gets like dragged away. And that is like 100% what I am getting from this dude. It's like he had to be 40% mouth or he couldn't do this job. He's been like artificially altered with surgery in order to be able to do what he does. And what I really love about him is that even though he clearly is like on the side of the Foxy Pirates, he's still being pretty honest when he's just talking about what's happening in front of his eyes. Like and I say that like when it comes to acknowledging the Straw Hats are winning or made a good play or outsmarted Foxy or he doesn't shy away from that or try to, sort of couch a compliment in an insult or anything. He will straight up be like, oh, look at them. Good move. Really surprising. And there is something about his energy in every scene that keeps this all sustained. Like, he's the raft carrying it the whole time. He's so annoying, but he's also, you couldn't do this without having him be part of this. It's just like, it's really, really good. I enjoy all of his commentary so much. There are so many moments where he would chime in and I'd be like, oh God, this guy. But then he would finish the sentence and I would be cracking up and be like, he's got a point. Florian says, is this bird better than Pierre? I'm going to say the bird is not. The dude, that's a different story. Seraphim says maybe a better bird, but not a better bird horse. That's a good point. So the whole first thing is like us doing a race around the island and getting to this spot. And we start off with our friends being split into 3 different teams. And really what the race around the island is just Foxy setting, like I had said earlier, a bunch of obstacles in place. And some of them are literal physical obstacles. Some of them are like misdirects. Some of them are distractions. And he has sort of figured out what's going to work for a few of them. And so by the time we start episode 210, I think two are out. And the only one that is remaining in play is Nami. No, 2 were there 4 teams? I'm trying to remember how this was set up because we had Chopper and Zoro on one team, right? Sanji, he's with Luffy. Then we have Nami and Usop, and is Robin with them? I'm trying to remember how this got set up. But long story short, Nami's boat is the only one by the time they get to the coral reef. They start off with Sanji behind them, and she has to be like, where he says, go on without us. And I love that she just says, okay, we will. And there's no argument about it at all. Okay. Florian says Robin is with Nami and Usop. Yeah, that's interesting because I guess that we can't really break it up evenly with Robin here. But it would have been really interesting to see Robin like on her own boat without anybody else because she's so capable and competent. A part of me is like, I feel like she could just win by herself, And that's probably not true. But Seraphim says this whole thing got massively altered in the anime. In the manga, it was only the Robin, Nami, Usop team and the Foxy team that ends up being the only one left by the end. Okay. Florian says we see our first fishmen here in a while. Yeah. One of them is very large. But what Nami does is she like trusts the currents that go around these coral reefs and they pull her through to the other side. And she's like explaining this. And as she explains this, we get an illustration of like a map depicting the currents and how that works. But the map even includes this huge swirling circle at the end of it. And I saw that in the map and I'm like, what's that? That looks to me like a giant fucking whirlpool. And indeed, when we reach it, it is a giant fucking whirlpool. Nevertheless, Nami and Co. would have won, but this is where we get to see the power that Foxy has from a devil fruit. Now remind me, guys, what the devil fruit name is and what the power name is, because I don't remember. But suffice to say, he creates this like beam of light that slows things down. What I love about his explanation of how he slows things down is that it's super scientific sounding in a show that has never cared about that before. And I found it really weird that he's like explaining how he can like slow particles, but actually isn't affecting them as matter or whatever it is that he says. It was like, you could have just said, I slow shit down. Maybe that detail in the explanation will wind up being important. That's the only thing I can imagine, because otherwise the show hasn't cared about like justifying in physics why something is possible almost ever. So I just found it really weird that like they decided to go kind of hard in a Marvel sort of way. You know, like the MCU will pretend that there's science behind something, and it's really not, but it's meant to just sort of explain away and make it feel like it could happen. And that's what this was like for me. Seraphim says slow fruit. Really? I didn't remember that it was slow fruit. I could have sworn it was going to be something more like, you know, all right though. All right, that's fine. So he slows Nami down from crossing the finish line, and his people win. And I can't remember the name of the woman who's Foxy's like other henchman, but she is so pleased with herself in a way that's like she genuinely won, even though you only won because he cheated for you. And she's still very pleased with herself. And I was just like, I need somebody to slap her down because this bitch is insufferable. There is nothing like people who won't acknowledge all of the hands up that they've been given when they succeed at a thing. Just, what does it cost you? Stop it. So this results in the Foxy Pirates getting to choose a crew member to take. And they take Chopper. They take Tony Chopper, which I can never get used to the fact that it's Tony twice. And I was taken quite by surprise that they chose Chopper at first, because it didn't really occur to me how important a doctor could be. Then I'm like, oh, this actually makes total sense narratively, because Chopper is always sort of the sacrificial lamb. Like in a lot of the arcs that we've been in recently, Chopper is the one who is the first at serious risk at the hands of the enemy a lot of the time, because he's very small and feels like a child and is not brave. So that made sense once I stopped and thought about it. Then what we actually find out is that the Foxy Pirates just think Chopper is really fucking cute, and they want him as a pet, basically. And they're handing him around and like cuddling him and squeezing him. And I could not stop laughing. That was part of the show that made me laugh the most so far, is Chopper just being like, stop, as they're trying to squeeze on him. I was dying. Just, and Foxy just being like, oh, he's adorable. This was great. I loved it. Seraphim says, I don't think they even realized he was a doctor. They just thought he was a doctor. No, he definitely, at least in the dub, Foxy specifically says the doctor. And that might be just in the dub. But yeah, he specifically calls out that he wants that one, the doctor, the little one. And it just completely sort of undermined once they get a hold of him and the way they treat him. I thought that this was purely like a practical decision. We always need a healer in the party. But no, they just thought he was very, very cute. And for some reason, they have a chair that they seat him on for the duration of the rest of the contest. So he's just very singled out for the rest of these episodes because he's sitting there like waiting to be saved. And when the second contest is this weird game where one player on each side is the ball, and they have to strap a ball to their head. And the game is you have to get the ball in the circle on the opposite team's side. Basically, score a goal using your teammate and their head. And we find out here that Chopper being taken out of play, they don't get to like tag in somebody new or do anything to sort of fill that gap. They just have to roll with having fewer people that can participate in the contests. So it winds up that we get like a 3 versus 2. And it's Hamburg, Pickle, and Pan. And they're these giant monsters. Pan is the biggest, and he's the fishy one with slippery skin. And they have an attack, and I think it's just called the burger. I'm trying to remember exactly what Foxy yells. But suffice to say, Hamburg has the equivalent of a giant meat pounder. What do you call that? Mallet. I put pounder and mallet together and I made pallet, and that's not what we want. Pickles spins like the Tasmanian devil with lots of blades. And Pan just has 2 giant pans that he slams together, I guess, in like a crushing motion is supposed to be the way that we're taking this. But what a weird series of weapons to try and do like a hamburger themed trio. Like, there's no bun, there's no cheese. Hamburger, pickles, and pan. I wouldn't pick those. If I'm going to try and do this team, it's not how I would approach it. Especially because I believe that the superior preparation method is a grill, not a pan. That probably wouldn't even occur to me to do pan. But anyway, these guys are undefeated, and when they come onto the field, we get this absolutely solid gold back and forth between Sanji and Zoro. These two are such fucking brats, and they cannot get along for a single moment, despite the fact that everything is at stake right now. All they need to do is work together for the 10 minutes that they're going to be playing this game. And they can't. They just can't do it. And as much as I wanted to be like frustrated with them, the way that they both feed into it and refuse to back down is so well done and so pointless and so frustrating. I really found this quite funny. And what winds up working is every time that they have to get Sanji to fucking focus and do something, they have to tell him Nami told him. So she's the one yelling from the sides that like that ball hat looks good on you, or win the game for me, or whatever, you know? Otherwise, the idea that he's going to be like taking instructions from Zoro, he can't deal with it. And it's really funny because like we have seen the two of them bicker before, but this is the first time that I was really like, oh, they genuinely don't like each other. I kind of thought that they were just being a bit over the top competitive the other times that I've seen it. But this, I was just, wow, you can't even put that aside. So like, and it's actually a really smart choice writing wise, because the two of them, once they put their minds to it, they're able to win the game. And it's, you know, like clearly working together, they can win it fairly handily, despite the fact that the enemy now has full-on weapons, which is allegedly not allowed. But we need some tension. We need to draw out the contest between these two teams. So how are we going to do it? We're going to have the two of them refuse to fight the actual enemy and fight each other instead. And their teammates watching from the sidelines are getting so fucking infuriated. And there is a point at which they've got every one of the other team, all of the opposing team is down. And they have the chance to score. And they stand there yelling at each other instead. As Usop is off on the side, just like, what are you doing? This is your chance. Why are you doing this? And there's this whole bit with how the referee can't see, doesn't notice, won't admit he sees, just lets the other team get away with breaking the rules. When the moment Cesaro stepped onto the field, he's told that he has to give his swords up. So, like I said, I would have been so mad as a kid. I just couldn't stand it. It's again, disregard for the rules, but then the righteous indignation of these same guys later on when Nami suggests that they take Foxy as their pick. It's too much. Y'all, stop it. So they wind up winning. And they have to decide who they're going to take. She proposes Foxy. Everybody has this big reaction. Something that I found really funny, and I was curious if anybody who actually speaks Japanese and knows the literal translations, if it's as faithful as I had been sort of anticipating it is with the subtitles. Because I am assuming the subtitles are pretty close to as literal a translation as it gets. And what I found really interesting was I watched this episode dubbed, but with the subtitles, which I found out from you guys, the subtitles are actually the same ones that they use in the undubbed version. And sometimes it's hard to concentrate with both, but this time it was really interesting because I noticed the dub was very different in a bunch of spots than the subtitles were. And one of the bits that I enjoyed the most was not even really a bit in the same way in the subtitled version. In the subtitles, the camera pans over a couple of different Foxy Pirates, and they're each thinking about how they're going to be picked. And very nervous about it. And generally just sort of having this like, oh God, it's going to be me. In the dub, they get a lot more specific about what they think about getting picked and how they feel about it. And it is so funny. Each of these guys thinks they're the main character. It's like, I know that's overused, the whole, real main character, but they all are kind of thinking, of course they're going to take me, in this way that like, who are you again? But they each really believe that they're super important. And they also are devastated about having to leave their own crew and thinking about how they're going to try and take it as manfully as they can because they don't want to, they don't want to distress their crew members. And probably it'll be fun to sail with the Straw Hats. It'll be fine. I'm sure I'll still have a good time. But I'll miss these guys so much. And I'm going to be so sorry to say goodbye to them. And there was something so amazing about the combination of them being so certain they're the ones that are going to get picked with their genuine affection for the other crewmates that they have. And how sad they were, but they're also trying in a way to have a good attitude about it. And I wasn't ready for that at all. And they do it twice. They cycle through this group of guys 2 times because it takes a while for Luffy to make a decision on what he's going to do. And I just found this charming, and it made me really like the Foxy Pirates in a way that I was kind of like, I don't know how I feel about that. But all of them, the Foxy Pirates in general, are kind of adorable. Even in the second contest, they're cheering on the Straw Hats, and Foxy has to be like, what the fuck, guys? Whose side are you on anyway? Because they're delighted with a good performance, whether it's their team or not. And there's something very respectable about that, in my opinion. You know, a fair-mindedness that Foxy apparently doesn't have. Like, these guys are okay with cheating, but they aren't mad about acknowledging when the other team is doing well. And I respect that. Seraphim says, subtitles tend to be very close, but at times there are things that just can't be translated well, and so have to be more convey the intent. Not sure how it worked out in this case. Well, wouldn't you miss being on a crew that has a massive carnival every week? Yeah, I mean, like I said, these guys all seem kind of great. So I could see being on a crew with them would just be fun because they seem to be doing their best in a way. So overall, this like whole bit of each of these dudes thinking they're going to get picked, I think that they did something with that I wasn't expecting, that I found really, really funny. What Luffy decides is the crew member that he's going to take back is the horse. And what is her name? The horse's name is like Tiffany or something. It's like a real like normal lady name. And I remember laughing at whatever it was. But I found it, first of all, of course Luffy's going to do something out of left field that none of us has thought of, because that's just his way. He likes to keep us on our toes. You know, honestly, that's not it at all. Luffy does not give a shit about whether you're on your toes. His mind is like a ball in a pinball machine, and it just goes over all over the place at the slightest prompting, and you can never tell what it's going to shoot towards next and when it's going to sink into a hole or what. So I should not put it at all like he gives a shit. But Shelly, that's it. Seraphim, thank you. But Shelly wasn't taken as part of the game, was she? I'm like, how do they get this? And it doesn't matter because they cheat all the time. But they don't let Luffy's team cheat. So I was just surprised that this worked. Basically, what he's doing is trying to get her back because I guess Foxy just took her right before this all started. And it's considered that she's fair game, I guess. But basically, Luffy is so confident that they're going to win the next round that he's trying to take advantage of this right now because he's certain that he'll be able to get Chopper out of the situation with the next one. And y'all know how I feel about that. It's not even about whether you can or not. For me, it's more about the message you're sending to Chopper and the fact that Chopper is sitting there thinking that, like, you just don't care. And eventually Luffy does address that and, like, yells up to Chopper to, you know, stay strong and we're coming for you, we promise. But it takes way too long for them to acknowledge that. And for Chopper sitting there watching them, like, a horse that they met 2 hours ago is the one that they choose to save. Oh my God, I'd be so mad. I would be so mad. Florian says, I think in the manga he picks Chopper and the horse later. To be honest, I can't remember the horse at all. Seraphim says, horse didn't matter in the manga. This was just done for the anime so they could pad things out. In manga, he just took back Chopper. Okay. And yeah, like I said, I don't mind that he picks, that he picked the horse at this point so much as I mind that he didn't communicate with Chopper about it and that he really cares. Because that's the part that I get the most mired down in most stories is like, I just want people to talk to each other. And the message that you send by not picking Chopper right away is devastating, especially after he just got yelled at by Zoro. Like, the combination of Luffy and Zoro's behavior really just makes it seem like they don't give a shit about Chopper and he should shut the fuck up. So anyway, so he promises Chopper, we're going to get you back, and like says something like, you're a man, right? Which, and Chopper just does the whole, yes, I am. So I'll sit here and just fucking take it, I guess. Really rude. I have no idea what to expect with the next round, because they are so willing to cheat that it almost doesn't really make a difference what it is. It's less about what they actually make the round officially, and much more about what do they choose to do to cheat. That's the main obstacle that we're going to run into. And the only person who is at all satisfied by this is the old man who got Shelly back. Pretty much everybody seems to be like, dude, Luffy, what the fuck? And it ends with Robin saying, I wonder what the next game will be. And Luffy saying, we're going to get Chopper back. And that's it. So that's what we're doing. And I know we're going to get Chopper back. I have no doubt of that. But I am just very anxious about it overall. And I don't like what this does to Chopper mentally. Like I said, I feel like Chopper's really been put through it mentally and emotionally. That reminds me of a line. The guy who's doing the commentary after Nami suggests that they take Foxy as their choice, once they like sort of wrap the conversation up and Luffy makes it clear he's going to make a decision, the announcer says something like, now that foul-mouthed Nami has finished emotionally abusing our captain. I am telling you guys, this announcer is so great. Everything he says, I was just like, oh, that's very good. And I have to wonder what the condition of this guy's voice box was after, because it is a real, like, grating, sort of shrieky voice that he's maintaining this for dialogue that spans 5 episodes at this point. That is brutal. And he's certainly got the most lines out of anybody, you know? Yikes, that must be really hard. Let's see. Seraphim says, this is also because in the anime, Foxy caught her in a net, thus claiming her, but in the manga, he just straight up shot her. Oh, right. I forgot about that. Yeah, this is what comes of like getting interrupted in the middle of talking about this last episode. So there are things that like were at the tail end of 208 and I sort of like didn't get to them. Apologies for that mess of an episode. But let's see. Seraphim says, yeah, this arc has bar none the greatest amount of manga to anime changes. I wonder why. Like, you're saying it's just to pad it out? And I guess that would make sense if there was also a filler arc right before this. Maybe they really were just starting to be like, oh shit, we really need to buy ourselves some time. And by the way, I mentioned the filler arc because I've said that I'm going to watch it, and I was assuring you at the beginning of the last episode I would watch it before I recorded today, but considering all of the computer problems I've been having and everything, I'm sure you guys understand I have not gotten to it yet. And I also didn't think it was like a good idea to try and watch that and talk about it at all in an episode that I had to fit in 4 episodes worth, since I had been short in the last recording. So I'm going to try and watch it over this weekend and talk about it just, for maybe like 10 minutes, maybe even less, in the next episode. So I just wanted to keep you guys alerted on what I was doing with that. Padding. Okay, yeah, that's what I figured. Okay. I think that's everything for this one. But I feel like it really worked out, honestly, covering these 4 all together. And I just have been enjoying this little contest arc a whole lot. It's been full of surprises. And there's like, it's like the fact that what we're fighting for is to just take a crew member. It doesn't feel quite as brutal as like, oh, I'm going to kill you, or I'm going to turn you into the Marines or turn you in for a bounty. There's something like slightly lower stakes, even though it's not actually. Like taking a crew member, that's fucked up. But you know what I mean? The overall vibe is a lot more fun right now. There's not like a local population being oppressed by a horrible chieftain who's stealing their resources. It's just like this one guy got left behind because he was on stilts. Real weird. He's the only one left, but the rest of his people seem to be fine. And then we've got this like goofy carnival thing that happens in a totally unpopulated otherwise area. And that feels like harmless in a overall way that causes me to relax a little bit more and be able to sit back and enjoy it. So, okay, I'm going to wrap up. I'm sorry. Demian says, damn, you're in for a treat then. G8 filler is the only filler so good. I didn't even realize it was a filler when I first watched it. I just straight up thought I forgot that part of the manga when I got to that part in the anime. Okay, well, that's good to know. I'm looking forward to it. All right. Well, I'm going to wrap. Thank you guys again so much for coming and hanging out in the chat and supporting the show and all of that. Don't forget to recommend this to One Piece fans and let them know that somebody's going through this all for the first time. And I just really do appreciate this show being a break from some of the serious shit. It really is delightful. And like Sanji getting distracted in the boat race because there's a boat full of cute girls that like just completely sidelines him. I mean, it's wonderful. What are you going to get mad about? Talking about the guy who's the announcer and his voice, almost every line until the fight that he does with Zoro, almost every line that Sanji says is him talking to Nami in that ridiculous, yes, Nami kind of voice. And I just keep thinking about like being in a booth and having to deliver 20 minutes worth of lines in that voice the entire time and how hilarious that would be. Like, it's very fun. I enjoy it quite a bit. All right, I'm going to wrap. Thank you guys again very much. And thank you, Florian, for commissioning this. And until next time, toodaloo, motherfuckers.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.